Gentlemen, welcome back into the full slate breakdown video for NFL DFS Week 7. My name's Eric Paulzine with 9 to 5 Sports. I apologize for not having this out last week for you guys. Just a busy week, and I got the write-up up. I just didn't have time to do the full 40 to 20 minute video, maybe to an hour video. Okay, had time this week. Hopefully it's not going to be as long as that. I want this to be a quick, easy video breaking down the top plays, and I think it will be fast. Never know before I start recording, but the plan is for this to be a fast video. So if you guys enjoy this, make sure to give a like and subscribe. That does help out the channel a lot. You guys will see the two 9 to 5 sponsors on, wait, let's find it, right there in that corner, okay? As the video is going, we got Sports Battle app, a daily fantasy sports prop-based app. Then we got Stat Hero. There, we got it that time. Sorry, I've already done a couple of videos today. Lots of words. I probably won't be able to spit everything out correctly this video. I apologize. But Stat Hero is a daily fantasy sports app as well, or website. They have 3 different game types: head-to-head, survivor pool, and also pick'em. 3 different game types. Check them both out. You can use the promo code 925 the numbers for Stat Hero, and then for Sports Battle, use the promo code 9TO5 to get $5 cash back on your original deposit. All right, so now starting out with the Browns versus the Ravens. Okay, the game over and under for this game is set at 45.5, with the Ravens favored to win by 6.5 points. Okay, now right off the bat, I will say Lamar Jackson alone is appealing. If you just want to run out Lamar Jackson, you can, but we do need to wait on word for Mark Andrews. I do expect him to play. Okay, he returned to practice on Friday, so he should be good to go. Okay, so Lamar Jackson becomes a better play, obviously, with his top pass catcher, Mark Andrews. And also Rashad Bateman, he should be back fully healthy for this one. Okay, maybe not fully healthy, but healthy enough to contribute. Okay, so Lamar Jackson should be a more appealing fantasy option. I just haven't been able to go out of my way to play him. The one play that I really like a ton, and as the week progresses, I think I'm going to be on him a lot because I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be out. Oh, he was ruled out. Oh my goodness, guys. Yes. Jeez, it's like I'm doing a live stream here. Oh, that gets me jacked up. All right, there we go. Kenyon Drake, fire him up. Let's go. Oh, that makes me feel good, guys. It alleviates some stress. All right, Kenyon Drake is the play. Whew, wow, and this is big for me in season-long leagues too as well, guys. I might need to mention that. Got some bye weeks. He was a bye week filler. I spent some fab on Kenyon Drake in hopes that J.K. Dobbins would be out. Anyways, Kenyon Drake was the leading snap share running back for the Baltimore Ravens the last 2 weeks, okay? About 40 to 45% of the snaps. Now with J.K. Dobbins out, I do think we can see Kenyon Drake to get to about maybe 60% of the snaps, okay? And the thing with Kenyon Drake is he should be involved more in the passing game than he is. He's only had 4 targets on the season thus far. You look at the last 2 weeks, 3 targets, okay? And I think we should just be looking at the last 2 weeks because that's when he played about 40% of the snaps. All right, last week against the New York Giants, broke a big run. 10 carries for 119 yards. So obviously, we're not expecting that. But against the Cleveland Browns, a matchup in which you want to be targeting, Kenyon Drake should be able to go off, especially if he has gained 60% of the workload. And that's the big question. Will he get that big workload? Will he get that big snap share? He should get around 10 touches at least. I would say that's his minimum. And if he does, he should be able to go off against the Cleveland Browns. The only issue I'd potentially see is Justice Hill being back and healthy, okay? Maybe those two split the workload. And Justice Hill, he has looked impressive too, okay? He has been a big playmaker for them. So it wouldn't be too shocking to see them roll with Justice Hill a little bit, okay? I could see it being potentially a 50-50 split. I don't see Justice Hill out-snapping Kenyon Drake at this point, but Justice Hill could be a play as well. So for this game, I do really like the idea of playing Kenyon Drake at the running back spot and then doing a Cleveland Browns stack. And this is the only part of the Cleveland Browns that I want is for stacking purposes. So the Ravens have been able to get beat up in the passing game, okay? Jacoby Brissett has been serviceable for most of the games. At 5.3, we do need his best game though, and that's my biggest worry with him. We need him to get to 20 DK points, maybe 18 DK points at this price point. He could, it is his best matchup of the year thus far, so we do like that. Amari Cooper has been very solid, okay? Over the last 5 weeks, he's only had 1 week in which he only saw 4 targets. And that was against the Atlanta Falcons, which was a little bit strange. Other than that, he's seen 10 or more targets in each of those games, scoring over 14 or more DK points in each of those games. As we can see, 3 out of those 5 were 20-point DK point games. The upside is there for Amari Cooper to go off, okay? So I like that play a lot. And then DPJ could be sneaky as well, playing a ton of snaps, okay? Playing 80 to 90% of the snaps, depending on the week. That's a big snap share. Okay, the targets have kind of been there for him, 5, 7, and 9. And I will say, last week he did make a pretty awesome sideline catch, okay? But 2 of his catches did come at the end of the game when the game was kind of already out of hand. So, we don't love DPJ, but he could go off and have a decent game. I shouldn't say go off. He could easily get to 15 DK points and reward you at his price point. So kind of a weird sneaky game stack, but I really don't mind it. All right, so getting to the next game, we got the Bucks versus the Panthers. And when I took the screenshot of the over and under for this game, it was set at 40, and the Bucks were favored to win by 11. Now I would say that's probably gone or increased. It's probably went up to maybe 13, I would say, with Christian McCaffrey being traded. Okay, Christian McCaffrey is now going to be on the San Francisco 49ers. That leaves us with the Deonta Foreman to be the RB1 in this offense. The issue that should open value. It just doesn't, because the Bucks have been an insanely good defense. We get one more week with PJ Walker until Sam Darnold returns. PJ Walker did not look good last week. That offense was terrible. Sometimes when I'm watching film, there are certain games in which I'm like, I just need this game to be done. This is miserable. This is hurting my eyes. Most of the time that's been like the Bears, honestly. Last week it was the Panthers. Well, it's been the Panthers a lot too with Baker Mayfield. Okay, let's be honest. But it was brutal. Okay, so the route at which I would want to attack this DFS-wise would be Bucks D, obviously. Like Bucks D going against a bunch of backups. That should be appealing. And then Leonard Fournette, like running back in a high spread, a game that they're heavily favored. You could stack the running back and the defense together. And then I also do like Chris Godwin a decent amount in this game as well. He should see around 80 to 90% of the snaps. He should see around 7 to 10 targets in this one. He should have a nice safe floor, and we can easily see he is kind of just due for a touchdown. No better time to get a touchdown than in an easy matchup, a game in which you're favored to win by a lot. So I do like Chris Godwin as well. And then Cade Otton as well, just the value play with Cameron Braid out. Last time we saw that happen, he had 90% of the snaps, was able to score 10 DK points. He should be a solid play for you on this slate. All right, now moving on to the next game, we got the Atlanta Falcons versus the Cincinnati Bengals. If you guys have been following me this season, you know my thoughts on the Falcons. Like, they are just a good team. They've been producing, like, defensively good enough and offensively good enough. Like, Marcus Mariota has been so good, and I know the stats don't say it, but like, he has been impressive. There are so many teams that would love to have Marcus Mariota as their quarterback right now, just with how well he's played, given the offensive structure that he's supposed to be playing in. Okay, he's making the correct plays, the correct throws, and honestly, if he had some weapons, like, he'd probably be really producing fantasy point wise. He's had some bad drops. A lot of people blame kind of Mariota or the offense for Kyle Pitts not doing well. I personally think Kyle Pitts is just overrated. He's had some bad drop, not exactly getting open, but also that is the offense. Okay, they want to have long sustained drives, and they've been able to run the ball really well. So, like, I don't know, the Falcons. This is my long way of saying I like the Falcons, guys. They have been a strong team. They're 6.5 point underdogs, and I like that bet. I'm taking the Falcons there. They have been a strong team. And the one thing I just want to point out, like, season long, guys, Cordell Patterson might be back, I think, next week. And I hope he's not, because I have a lot of shares of Tyler Algier in season long leagues. And after this week, it opens up schedule wise. Like, the Falcons run offense has been so good. Okay. And he's been the lead running back at about 54% of the snaps, getting about 15 touches per game, or, you know, it's been increasing each week now. I want to get him in that good schedule for running backs. Okay. We saw against Cleveland, all the running backs had a good run. And then Tampa Bay still did pretty well. I would say, 45 rushing yards against Tampa, that's good. And then against San Francisco, 51 rushing yards, like, that's good as well. He could have easily had a touchdown in those games, just went to a different running back. Like, I'm excited to see him play against a bad rush defense. And that's not the Bengals just yet, although if he has a good game, it wouldn't be too shocking. Same thing for Drake London. Like, I'm excited to see these guys in favorable matchups. It's just not here yet. So we're avoiding the Falcons for the most part, DFS-wise. Okay, that's my long way of saying that. Invest in them season long. Try to trade low or buy low on those guys. I think that'd be the route to go. The plays that I like in this game, it's pretty obvious. Like, if you are going to throw out some stacks in this game, Joe Burrow could easily play. Joe Burrow had his best game of the season last week, 35 DK points, and he's won over 20 DK points in all but 2 of the games. So been very highly productive, and you can see his floor has been 16 DK points. This is going to be a favorable matchup, a matchup in which he should be able to go off and have a good game. So I do like Joe Burrow as a play. You could easily stack him with Jamar Chase if he's healthy. It does seem like he's going to play. Just getting an insane amount of targets. If Joe Burrow goes off, then we kind of expect Jamar Chase to go off. But I also do like T. Higgins back. That's just another weapon in this offense. T. Higgins has kind of been a stud in games in which he's been active and fully played. We can see 19, 14, 28, and 10 DK points. Very solid. The targets have been there. Basically all those games have been 7 or more targets as well. So, like, T. Higgins at that price point I like. And I'm flirting around with the idea of playing him in cash. I'm kind of curious. What are you guys' thoughts on T, Higgins, and Cash. Would that be a route that you guys would go? Because I could see that working out. And I guess it's worth pointing out Hayden Hurst revenge game. You know, they traded for him. Then they brought in Kyle Pitts via the draft to kind of take over his position. He did well while he was with the Falcons. Now he's with the Bengals. Kind of has a role there. He could have a good game. It wouldn't be that shocking. You know, he's seen around 70-80% of the snaps. 3.5 is too much to pay up for a tight end, I think, on this slate, but game stack wise, maybe you throw him out there. All right, now getting to the Detroit Lions versus Dallas Cowboys, a game in which I think a lot of people are going to be targeting DFS wise. I will be. I know that. The game order is set at 49. The Dallas Cowboys are favored to win by 7 points. And I don't know about you guys, but 7 points does seem like a little bit too much. I kind of like the Lions plus 7 there. Okay, so I probably would take that betting wise. Personally, I think this game's pretty simple approach wise. Like Dak Prescott, not a lot of people are going to be on him, I don't think, just because, well, why would they be? First game back from an injury. The Dallas Cowboys haven't exactly been passing the ball a ton. And yes, that's because of Cooper Rush, but a lot of people would probably take the wait and see approach. I just mentioned Joe Burrow in the previous game. Like, it does make more sense to play him, but game stacking wise, it makes a lot of sense to be on Dak Prescott. If he goes out and has a 20-point game, I don't think that would shock anyone, especially given the fact that he has some pretty good pass catchers now. CeeDee Lamb is pretty cheap as well. I think CeeDee Lamb makes a lot of sense in cash going against the Detroit Lions, a matchup that you just want to be targeting pass catchers against. The Detroit Lions defense is the worst in the league right now, okay? CeeDee Lamb is averaging over 10 targets per game or 10 targets per game, averaging 14.6 DK points per game. Like, he has a nice safe floor. Given the matchup, I do think he's going to be able to go off, okay? The only game in which he struggled was Tampa Bay, a good defense, and even against the Philadelphia Eagles, a very good defense, he'll still be able to put up 12.7 DK points. Like, he should have a 20-point game in this matchup. And then from there, you're deciding, do you want to play Michael Gallup or Noah Brown? I would say or, not and. Stacking-wise, I want to play Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and then Noah Brown or Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup is playing less snaps, but getting more targets than Noah Brown. Noah Brown is playing more snaps, but has not seen that many targets since Michael Gallup has been back. That's the interesting thing. Maybe both of those kind of get corrected, where they play in about the same amount of snaps and they're getting about the same amount of targets. In that sense, I would rather just pay down for the guy that's cheaper, Noah Brown. Either could work though. And then Detroit, I want to point this out, guys, because yes, St. Brown is back. We can't expect him to get targeted heavily like he has been this whole year. Wouldn't it be shocking? Okay, he went against the Patriots in week 5. Tough matchup. Okay, against the Eagles, another tough matchup. He went for 20 DK points. So like it just wouldn't be shocking to see him go off and have a solid game against the Dallas Cowboys. Stacking wise, you could easily play him, but I want to point out a strong value play. If DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds are ruled out, then I love me some Khalif Raymond. Okay, he should play in about 70 to 80% of the snaps. The last 2 weeks, 7 targets and 5 targets. I would say, you know, getting around 8 DK points would be what to expect from him. Maybe he scores a touchdown, maybe gets a few more receptions, it gets to 10 DK points. At 3.7 in a game that has a high over and under, a game that you do want to be stacking, you want to try to find some value, and he'd be a value play that I would toss out there. All right, now getting to the next game here, we got the Giants versus the Jaguars. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this game, but it's kind of a game in which, for the most part, I want to stay away from, but we'll touch on it. We'll give it the proper breakdown. So Trevor Lawrence is frustrating because he makes so many great passes and he looks like an ideal quarterback, except for the passes in which are just like, dude, how did you throw that so poorly? Like just random crossing routes or random deep balls in which it's like, these are easy passes that you're messing up. I go back to like week 1 with Travis Etienne, should have had 2 touchdowns. He dropped one and Trevor Lawrence kind of missed him on 2 different passes that could have been touchdown. He just sometimes messes up the easy throws, like leading a receiver into the end zone or leading a receiver, you know, for a big gain. Like he's like too worried about, oh, this guy is wide open. You know, just let's put it near him so he can make a catch, which I guess is fine, but it's kind of frustrating watching it. He went off, had a good game last week, mostly due to a couple of rushing touchdowns, okay? That was great. Good for him. Quarterback sneaks did well. I'm staying away from him this week against the Giants, who have been a good defense, but I don't think the Giants defense is as good as the numbers say. We'll see. So far, they have been. The play that I like the most in this game is going to be Saquon Barkley, okay? Was a little bit banged up throughout the week, just maintenance stuff, it seemed like, injury report-wise. Saquon Barkley just playing a lot of snaps. He is this offense, and at 7.9, we are getting a workhorse running back, really the most consistent running back thus far this season, at just like a cheap, strange price point against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just got torched by Deion Jackson. Who the heck is Deion Jackson? You know, like, come on. Obviously, I know who Deion Jackson is. I play preseason DFS, guys. But, you know, it's just strange. Like, Saquon Barkley, let's just say they use him the same as the Colts decide to use Deion Jackson, which I would, you know, in the passing game. Get him some targets. Get him in the open field. Make him some plays, make some defenders, miss some tackles. Saquon Barkley makes a lot of sense as a play. Going to get around 20 opportunities in this game. Should have a nice safe floor. Should be a strong play. Like if you want to go Leonard Fournette and Saquon Barkley and kind of lock in around 20 DK points from both of them, you can. There are some better running back value plays out there. But that's not a terrible route to go. That'd be a safe route to go. And I will say, we got to watch for the injury news on the Jacksonville Jaguars with Marvin Jones. It does seem like he's going to play. If he were to sit, then Zay Jones would become much more intriguing because then he would play around 90% of the snaps instead of the 70% of the snaps he has been seeing. Obviously, this team spreads the wealth around a decent amount. I will say Christian Kirk, it wouldn't be surprising to see him have a good game in this one. You look at the Colts, the Eagles, he's kind of done poorly in matchups you would expect him to do poorly in. Okay. I wouldn't be too worried about him season long. He's still the receiver number one, still playing 90% of the snaps. Big games are coming for him. Might be a guy you could try to trade or buy low on right now in season long leagues. I guess I have to point out another tight end revenge game. Although, guys, I'm paying down at tight end. The only way I'd play these guys is stacking purposes. Okay. And I don't see a route in which we would stack Evan Ingram, although revenge game against the Giants. And I actually could buy into this narrative. The fans kind of treated Evan Ingram a little bit poorly there in New York, it seemed like to me. Yes, he made some dumb mistakes, but he's been playing well for the Jaguars. It's kind of vindicated himself there. He has been. Some good games there. Can he get 7 targets? Can he get 50 yards? Can he get a touchdown? That's all stuff that can happen. I just don't see him breaking the slate. I don't see him being someone we need to go out of our way to play. All right, moving down into the Titans versus the Colts. There's not too much to touch on deeply because it's kind of obvious the route that we should be going. And I'll touch on that in a second here. But looking at the game over and under, it's set at 42 points. The Titans are favored to win by 2.5 points. And I kind of just like the Indianapolis Colts simply due to the fact that the Titans won week 1. That's really it. It's as simple as that. These two teams are that similar is what I'm trying to get at, especially with JT back, healthy, ready to go. Stacking wise, this is a simple part of it. Matt Ryan, a cheap price point going against the Tennessee Titans, an easy matchup. You can easily stack Matt Ryan with Michael Pittman in a great spot. Yes, he's priced up, but if you're playing him in a stack, you don't really care about the price point. You care about the upside. The upside for Michael Pittman is around 30 DK points. That is why you play Michael Pittman on the slate. Not really a cash play. We'll say Alec Pierce has been very impressive for a rookie receiver. He has very much lived up to the hype that was coming out of Indianapolis camp this preseason. Okay, he's looked good. And he's been seeing an increasing amount of snaps each and every week. Seeing about 65% of the snaps last week. 7 targets last week, 9 targets the week before that, 6 targets the week before that. At this price point, all he has to do is hit what he's been doing, around 12 DK points to maybe 16 DK points. Can he do that? I think so. Alec Pierce makes a lot of sense in stacks. And then I guess if you wanted to run it back, you could go with Derrick Henry, who has been a stud recently. Talk about consistency. He has been a very consistent running back thus far this season. A lot of people were worried against the Giants, and it turns out the Giants are just a good defense. Thinking he would do well against the Bills was dumb on people's parts. I didn't expect that. Still scored 8.2 DK points, and since then 25, 26, and 30 DK points. He's a stud. He's getting used in the passing game a little bit more. It wouldn't be shocking to see him go off, but I don't exactly want to pay up for him unless I'm just doing game stacks. That's the only route I would do that with Derrick Henry. All right, getting to the next game, we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Washington Commanders. Now, the game over and under for this game is pretty low, 41.5. The Packers are favored to win by 4.5 points. And finally, guys, I actually like betting the Packers here. The last couple of weeks, I'm no, the over and under is set, or the spread for this game is set way too high. They're not going to win by that much. I thought they would win, but I thought they'd be close games. Okay, so finally, against the Commanders, a team in which is clearly worse than the Jets and the Giants, the over and under is set at 4.5. That is strange to me. That is something we should take advantage of because they should be winning by at least a touchdown. They should be winning by 10 DK points. I broke this down on my stacking video. Aaron Rodgers has been good enough DFS-wise. Sure, last week sucked. Let's be honest, okay? A little bit too much pressure there from the Jets. Okay, that was strange. Besides that, and besides the Vikings game, week 1, 17, 17, 17, and 16.8 DK points. Look at the matchups. In retrospect, the Giants are a good defense. New England is a great defense. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a great defense. The Chicago Bears are a good defense. He should have went off against Minnesota, but no practice leading up to, or no game time leading up to week 1 there. So we kind of just write that off. And the Jets, they're a good defense. This is truly, other than the Vikings game, his best matchup of the season thus far. My expectations for him are to be able to score 3 more DK points than he had been against tough matchups and be able to put up 20 DK points. And if he's able to do that, it's still Aaron Rodgers, the reigning 2-time MVP. Okay. You got Alan Lazard there at a cheap price point at 6.1, a guy that's been highly consistent really over the past calendar year. He's someone I'm playing a lot against the Washington Commanders, a team that sucks defensively against the pass. Then we can also look at Romeo Doubs, who's going to play about 90% of the snaps as well with Alan Lazard, because that's what they've been doing. In an easy matchup, I expect him to get 8 targets like he has done 3 out of the last 4 games. At 5K, that's a super cheap price point. We saw him like really almost have an insanely good catch against New England. Played well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Strong plays there. And I will point out, like, if Sammy Watkins is back, healthy and ready to go, not a terrible play at, like a punt play at 3K. The only play I like for the Washington Commanders is going to be Brian Robinson. Okay, there's some word going around that Antonio Gibson might get more work. That's what Coach Ron Rivera is saying. When it makes sense. Let's be honest, that doesn't make any sense. Brian Robinson came out, got the start last week, played the most snaps out of any running back, 45% of the snaps, and had 17 carries. Also had the goal line carry. It wouldn't make sense for Antonio Gibson to get more carries. It just wouldn't. That would mean Ron Rivera is pretty much saying, yeah, I'm stupid. That was a dumb idea. I guess he's made a lot of mistakes, Coach Ron Rivera has. If you watched the stacking video, you saw me kind of go off on Coach Rivera a little bit already, so I'm not going to do that again. It just makes the most sense for Brian Robinson to get the most amount of work, to get an increase in snaps. Thus, he should be locked into that 17 or so rushing attempts or touches, and he should be a good play. Like the Green Bay Packers did just get beat up by Breece Hall, and he really didn't do he's a good running back, don't get me wrong, but he didn't really need to do much against the Packers. Like there's great play designs there. And I will say, like, the Washington Commanders should be able to run the ball against the Packers. Okay. Like we saw David Montgomery go off against the Green Bay Packers. Like it wouldn't be that shocking to see Brian Robinson have a great game. And then probably the easiest game to just skip over is the New York Jets versus the Denver Broncos. 38.5 over and under. That is terrible. The Jets are not favored to win. They're 1-point underdogs, and you're just hammering that bet. That might have been updated. Hopefully. I don't really get that. Like Russell Wilson's banged up. He has an injury. It's a hamstring injury. Okay. Let me just confirm that. Yes, hamstring injury. If it's truly a hamstring injury, those do linger. We've seen Keenan Allen be out a long time with a hamstring injury. Like that does affect your play. So like I do worry about the Broncos. We have no idea what Nathaniel Hackett's going to do at the running back spot. Seemed like Melvin Gordon was going to be a stud for the rest of the season, because, well, he is a stud. And Nathaniel Hackett's like, no, that is too easy to run Melvin Gordon against the Chargers, a revenge game for him. One of the worst rush defenses. No, we need to make that more difficult. Let's put Latavius Murray in there. Frustrating stuff. You can tell I'm getting frustrated by these head coaches. Man, that's what makes DFS tough sometimes. So for me, it's just like a stay away for the Denver Broncos. The only play that I love is the player that they love, Greg Dulcich. After not being active for the first 5 weeks, he came in and was active. Saw 74% of the snaps. Saw 2 end zone targets, almost came down with 2 touchdowns, did come down with a touchdown, 3 targets, 44 yards, 12.4 DK points. He's minimum price this week. I do expect the Denver Broncos to be playing from behind. Thus, Greg Dulcich does make a decent amount of sense tight end wise, and he's one of my favorite tight end value plays on the slate. That's really it. Like Breece Hall could have a good game. Not exactly chasing it. Yeah, let's just move on. All right, so now 2 of my favorite games are coming up. We got the Texans versus the Raiders. The over and under is set at 46, and I honestly thought this would be higher. I think this is a great chance. Betting wise, bet the over, and stacking wise, I think this is a great chance to get on this game. I like this game a lot. Both defenses have some glaring weaknesses. And before we get into that, I will say the Houston Texans are favored to lose, said that weird, by 7 points. And I actually like the Texans to cover that. So the glaring weakness on the Texans defense is the running game. Basically, every running back they went against had one of their best games. Okay. And Josh Jacobs has had 2 of the best games thus far this season from the running back position, scoring over 30 DK points each of the last 2 weeks, getting over 20 opportunities the last 2 weeks. They've committed to the run, the Raiders have. And this is the perfect ideal spot. You're talking about players like checking all the boxes. Great matchup, great price point, great usage, great snap count. Not worried about the backup. Like we keep going, getting targeted in the passing game. Like Josh Jacobs is just checking all those boxes. He's just like an obvious play on the slate. He's a core play on the slate. Just play him. Then I will say, I don't mind the idea of playing Dameon Pierce as well. Dameon Pierce has looked like a stud. You talk about Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce, like their last 2 games. You could say they've been I don't want to say they've been the top 2 running backs the last 2 games, but they've been highly impressive. Top 5? Can we say top 5? Yeah, I would say so. Like 1 yard shy of the 100-yard bonus last week as well. Not a tough matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. Like I like stacking those 2 a decent amount in this game. And then Davis Mills at 5K. It really doesn't take much for him to value. Okay, this is his easiest matchup of the season thus far. Once again, just tough matchups for some of these teams like Denver, Indy, tough matchups. Chicago, a better defense than people think. Chargers can play well defensively, especially in the passing game. And then the Jaguars, like they're a respectable defense. This is by far his easiest matchup of the season thus far. It wouldn't be surprising to see him go off. And if Davis Mills has a better game, then Brandon Cooks, who still seeing that volume, that target volume, still seeing a high amount of snaps, Brandon Cooks should be a good game for you on this slate. So I do like playing Brandon Cooks a lot at 6K, especially in game stack. And then from there, we got the Seahawks versus the Chargers, a game in which Vegas thinks to be high scoring. I don't know if I agree with that. Like the Chargers can play well on defense, especially passing the ball. The Seahawks didn't exactly look good last week offensively. Not bad. I won't say they were bad. But both defenses are kind of underrated. I would bet the under here. And I wouldn't exactly bet on either team to like win or cover. The Seahawks are 5-point underdogs. That could kind of go either way. Like betting wise, this game kind of depends on Keenan Allen. Once again, like it has the last few weeks, it seems like, especially DFS wise as well. Like if Keenan sits, and that's what makes the most logical sense is for Keenan Allen to sit because I got the bye next week. No reason to push it, especially after they got the win last week. Like no reason to push it. So with that, Mike Williams should be into a high target share once again. The Seahawks, like it's weird. Like they grade out poor defensively, but they haven't been giving up that much points. It's strange. Like Mike Williams could easily have a big game, but I'm only playing him in game stacks with Justin Herbert at quarterback. And Justin Herbert's at a cheap price point. In the last game, we saw him throw the ball for 57 times, which was kind of crazy. And he's averaging over 40 passing attempts per game. And he's still got that rib injury, might I remind you. Like they are just tossing the ball around a ton. And if they're going to be getting him 40 passing attempts, there's a strong chance that he gets a couple of touchdowns in this matchup. So I like Justin Herbert, game stacking wise. Then you're obviously just playing Austin Eckler as well. With Keenan Allen out, those targets should continue to be there for him. I should have a nice safe floor. Should be able to go for like 30. I shouldn't say 30. Like 18 to 30 DK points in this game. It's a pretty easy matchup against the Seahawks for Austin Eckler. And then Kenneth Walker as well. Kenneth Walker is probably like my most improved player from, let's just say, I don't know, his first start, his first touches to last week. Insanely good. Eye-poppingly good last week. The plays that he was making, it was just like, all right, I get it. I get where the hype was coming from this whole offseason, this whole preseason when they drafted him. I get why PD Sunshine loves him. It makes a lot of sense. And now we get him at 8.5, a very cheap price point for a guy that could easily break this slate. He saw 69% of the snaps last week, had 24 total opportunities, and was able to score 19 DK points, almost had 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker should be an elite play on this slate. I like him in game stacks a lot. And then you could go as far as to using like DK Metcalf in there as well if you want to, especially with Tyler Lockett kind of banged up. We have to wait and see if he's going to play. If Tyler Lockett were to sit, we could see a value play like Marquise Goodwin. Marquise Goodwin would be a decent like value play in general. And stacks for this game, if you're trying to chase this high over and under, just makes too much sense if Tyler Lockett's out. And then the last game here, like I don't really love this last game at all. Okay, it is projected to have a high over and under 49 points. Okay, the Chiefs are favored to win by 2 points, and I would probably go with the Chiefs there with CMC joining the 49ers. Like this offense is going to be better. I just don't know if that's going to happen this week. I do think like continuity in an offense is a big thing. And so if CMC is coming in there getting around 30% of the snaps or so, they said they're going to have a red zone package for him, whatever that means. I don't know. I worry about the continuity of the offense there. Eventually it's going to be huge though. Eventually it's going to be fun to watch. Just with that, I think the advantage is going to go to the Chiefs. Although with the Chiefs, you don't really know who to play except for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So this game to me is kind of just a stay away. I will say like Deebo Samuel does make a lot of sense in cash, at least for this week. I do expect CMC to like eat into his like workload a little bit, his usage a little bit, but he has been a super safe cash play, and I don't see that changing this week against the Kansas City Chiefs. I kind of wish the Panthers and Niners would have waited a week for the trade because I would have just been loading up on Deebo, and maybe that's a mistake to not be. Still should be a strong cash play, and that's really it for him. All right, guys, that is it for the game by game breakdown. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. That does help out the channel a lot. Let's have a good slate, and as always, guys, let's keep cashing.